much for watching or listening today. Liam Hartree here with another episode of Presenting Champions. Today joined by a very special guest. I'm very honoured that this man made time to come on the show today. Today's guest, former professional boxer Atif Shafiq, who is now doing an amazing venture, really, working with the youth in different schools around his area, working with youth with a few different troubles. He's doing that full time. He's giving back, contributing to the youth of today, contributing to the next generation. Got a lot of respect for that. So today it won't be just a boxing talk, although we will get into some key fights and some exciting boxing content. We're also going to be getting into the powerful social message that this man carries as well. So before we get into any of that, champ, thank you so much for coming on the show, mate. Like I said, it's a pleasure to have you.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Thank you.
It's a pleasure, it really is. So starting with, like I said to you, starting with sort of the present day type of thing, and then working back in time and doing it that way. It's some amazing work you're doing with your own company. Like I said, going around schools. Can you tell us a little bit about that in terms of what sort of help you give to these kids, what sort of work you do with them, and how the whole thing is structured, basically?
All right then. So for that, I have to take you back probably 3 years when my boxing career was cut short. I had to retire and I had no idea what to do. So I remember doing a bit of work with kids in the boxing gym when I was pro myself at, I think, 2021. We worked with troubled kids that came to the gym, did a bit of work with them, a bit of mentoring sort of stuff. I enjoyed it thoroughly. So when I realized boxing career was cut short, I remember doing that bit of work with kids. I bear in mind, I got A levels, but I didn't get no further education than that. So I had no degree or nothing. So really, it was a blank slate. So I thought I'd sign up for like an agency, teach. I would just start off as a teaching assistant. So in the school, that's like the foundation level. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was there. I worked at Dinnington High School. That's not far from where I live. It's about 15 minutes away. Uh, I enjoyed it a lot. That was 2020. Started there, I think February, March time, but then lockdown came. Lockdown came. It worked out quite well for me, to be honest, because with the boxing, there's no furlough, is there? But just because I joined that agency just the long enough time, I ended up getting furloughed all the way through lockdown. So that worked out quite well with the timing. So it worked out quite well there. And then lockdown lifted come September, October. They asked me back at that same school because I think I made a good impression and I enjoyed my job. I loved it. I enjoyed working with the kids. And to me, my mind after the boxing a little bit, there's a little bit of obviously you're a bit frustrated, but once I got stuck into the school stuff, I loved it. I became passionate straight away. I enjoyed working with the kids. And then obviously post lockdown, I was back at the school again. And then they offered me a full-time job. They offered me a full-time job as a TA, but then I quite quickly moved up to like a behavior mentor. So working a bit more specialized with certain type of kids. I enjoyed that. And then while doing that role, we developed like a bit of a boxing program, BoxTalk, which is now the company that I run. So it worked well. My friend Chris Ridgard, he said, why don't you try this idea? It'll work well. You're good at what you do. Incorporate the boxing with it and just keep being you. Try it. So we did. It worked very well. End of last year, so end of 2021, I thought it's going very well. I'm at one school I was employed by, not bad money, but you can always do more. So I thought, why not set up as a private company? At the time, there was a fellow called, I forgot his name, Noise Academy, the company. It's Joe Townsend. He had the same sort of idea, but he'd been doing it with DJing. So that works quite well. Again, he's at all different schools. He's got loads of people working for him now as well, up and down the country, he's smashing it. But I kind of took his idea and then obviously changed it for the boxing. So that went well in the school. And then I thought, why not set up as a private company? Okay, so December last year, I registered the company in September. December, I asked with the school that I was working at, I said, can I cut my days down one at a time? So I thought, I cut one day out. My friend Chris, he got me in touch with the head of PE at Thriver Academy. And they wanted me straight away. They're like, yeah, we'll have you every Tuesday, no problem. So fantastic. I went to the head teacher at Dinnington. They said, yeah, you can cut your days down, no problem. Fantastic. Tuesdays it is. Went back to Thriver. They were happy. Everything sorted. Contracts got sent over. So I thought I'll cut my days down gradually rather than taking the full plunge at one thing, bit of a gamble. Come back the week later to Dinnington. I think they were on a bit of a power trip. The head teacher came back to me. She said, oh, I know we said Tuesdays, but unfortunately we can only give you Wednesdays now. I was like, that's a bit unfair. We agreed something verbally. I moved forward with it, but now you're coming back Wednesdays. It's not really ideal. She said, oh, unfortunately, that's all we could do for you now. So put me in a bit of a predicament because I didn't want to go back to the school that I just started a new venture with and say, oh, can I change it again? So I thought, you know what, bite the bullet. I handed my notice in. I didn't like the way she treated me there. It's a bit of a power trip. I'm not a little puppet. Like, I know I'm good at what I do. So I thought, you know what, I handed my notice after that, sent the notice off. But luckily in the school, I made a lot of good friends. So when I let them know that I've handed my notice in, a friend of mine, Miss Davies, she was head of year 9 at the time. Her husband's a head teacher at Wingfield Academy, where I work now. She goes, oh, he'll have you 100%. So I met with him. He said, yeah, fantastic. So that was 2 days done. Chris, who helped me set the initial BoxTalk up, his missus, she's a deputy head teacher at St. Bernard's. I met with her. She said, oh, fantastic, we'll take you, no problem. One of my friends at if he works at Firth Park Academy doing behaviour sort of stuff. He goes, oh, I'll get you a meeting with the head teacher there. Met with him. Yeah, fantastic, no problem. So from having 1 day to January, I started off with 4 days already, which was already double what I was making at Dinnington anyway. So it worked out quite well. I was fortunate and blessed. I thank God every day. So from January to April, I had the 4 days. I was working 4 days. I was enjoying it. It's fantastic to me. It's like every day. So what I do is, but then April, fast forward to April, Firth Park said, have you still got that free day? I said, yeah. They said, fantastic, we'll take you for 2 days. So Mondays and Wednesdays, I'm at Firth Park Academy. Tuesdays, I'm at Thrive, Iron Hill. They've got like an alternate provision there. I'm there. Thursdays, I'm at Wingfield Academy. And Fridays, I'm at St. Bernard's. So that's my days full now. And what I do is we have like groups of four kids at a time. So I have like a lesson, one lesson per group. So 4 at a time. I have 2 categories: anger management, which you could kind of say is like the behavioral naughty sort of kids, or there's cars, confidence, anxiety, resilience, self-esteem. There's a lot of trouble with that at the moment. Some schools more than others. So that's more building the kids up, letting them know what they can do and what's possible. But they're not really the sporty type of kids. But once they get going, they think, wow, like if I'm like, the thing with boxing is anyone can do it. People think anybody can do it. There's no set person who can or can't. Anybody can if they just try. And that's what it does for the kids that struggle with the confidence and that sort of stuff. It lets them know, you know what? Like boxing, the shy, quiet kids are not the type of kids that are confident to go to a boxing gym and give it a go. But being in my group, they're in a group of 4, all the kids are similar, so it works well. And you let them know that, you know what, they'd be surprised. And I've had that many come from them groups in the schools, then like, oh, I want to come to the gym, sir, because they've got out that little bubble where they thought, oh, I couldn't do that. To getting a little taster, obviously getting to know myself as well, knowing I run the gym with my friend Abdul. So they're like, oh no, we want to come down. So I've had loads come, and now there's a lot of that smashing it. But obviously the cocky type of kids that have got a bit of, say anger management, a bit behavioral sort of stuff, them type of kids are not shy anyway. They're the opposite. You've got to bring them down a little bit and humble them a little bit. But they love it, and they come to the gym as well. So like I said, 3 of the schools are all within a mile and a half, 2 miles of the gym. And the 4th school that's in Sheffield, but I've still have some kids coming from that school as well. So it feeds in quite well the way the schools are distributed and where the gym is based. It all works hand in hand, and it's fantastic.
It's amazing work you're doing, man. I mean, it's just like I said before. I mean, everything about it is I absolutely love it. You know, the fact you're coming into their environment as well, making them feel comfortable in that way, building them up. I mean, it's amazing. How do you obviously when you're seeing these kids progress on a slightly different level? How do you actually feel about seeing them come from, say, like you're saying, if some of them are very shy, very quiet, then all of a sudden they're giving this a go, or when you actually see the changes, because obviously that takes a little bit of time. I mean, it's not going to be an overnight
Yeah.
thing. Um, on a sort of more emotional, mental level, or things like that, what's going through your mind in terms of like the rewards you get from it if you get
You know
where you
that
come?
people talk about that fuzzy feeling. I
Yeah.
feel I feel grateful that I've been given the opportunity to have the impact that I'm having. That's the best way of putting it, to be honest. I'm just grateful to be able to help the lives that I'm helping and have that impact and be that positive role model that a lot of people, especially in this day and age, don't really have. So I was fortunate. Obviously, I spent 10 years at the Brendan Ingle gym. So I got to see Brendan firsthand, like the school holidays now, what we're in October half term. Brendan would be like, Atif, what is it, the school holidays? Yeah, it is, Brendan. okay, bring yourself a packed lunch, come to the gym in the morning. You can spend the day with me. So I'd train in the morning, do a bit with him. Then we'd go out walking, wink about, do a bit of gardening. I'd go have your lunch at tea. I'll be back in half an hour. I'll have my lunch in the gym, come back again, we'd go for a walk, just spending time with Brendan at that 15-year-old tender age. But I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't like a naughty kid, but I was a kid that, yeah, I was all right. My parents, they disciplined me well. My dad put a lot of effort into me. So I was all right, but being able to spend time with Brendan and see that and have the impact that he had and the way he was all just positivity, just fun. So I tried use them experiences that I had with Brendan and just keep that going. It just I mention Brendan's name every single day, whether it's at school or in the gym or when I speak to somebody. Another one today, every day his name is mentioned, and I give a lot of credit down is goes to Brendan for the time that I spent with him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've heard that from actually from a number of guys who trained with him or were involved with him. That obviously it went way beyond boxing. And it was all about he was helping people in every aspect of life, like passing on the wisdom and knowledge. And I've sort of heard that described. I mean, I didn't know him, but it's a beautiful thing to sort of carry on his legacy like that. It is amazing. So before we go back to actually your boxing career itself. I just want to touch on the coaching that you're actually doing in the gym as well. So I mean, because I don't know as much about this. I mean, with the box talks and everything, I did a lot of research on this. But with the coaching you're doing, are you just coaching the kids, or are you coaching people at different levels, or like how is that side of things working specifically in the gym side of things? You know?
So in the gym, obviously, it's the main gaffer is Abdul Majid, Kash Ali, heavyweight boxer, IBF European champion, his brother. So the landlord got in touch with me and said, look, I've got this place here. Do you want to set a gym up? So at the time we had a smaller unit Abdul had, and I was just running some little bit of weekend classes for kids. And he said, Abdul spoke to me, he said, look, should we go into this? We've got a big opportunity there. We can make a pro boxing club out of it. I said, yeah, no problem. So I'm like the head coach of the kids, the amateur boxing. That's like I'm the head coach. Abdul helps me run the sessions. We do everything together. And then the adult sort of stuff, that's Abdul's stuff. He smashes that. He's got some guys doing a bit of unlicensed stuff. That, and again, once we're affiliated, they want to start boxing as well. But so the young kids coming through, like I set the plan for the sessions. I organize every day. There's a plan. I never going without anything written down. So we're never doing two things in the same week. We're always doing different things, learning and progressing. So everything. So the plan when it comes to the kids, the amateur boxing side, that's all my plans. We work together though. There's a team. There's me. There's Abdul. There's also Martin, Mateen. He helps, and a friend of ours from Ingalls has just started as well. Adam. He started to help us out as well. So we've got 3 or 4 coaches now. We get in our junior class from 7 to 8:15. We get between 30 to 40 kids now regular. So it's amazing. But we're lucky. Like I said, we've got 4 coaches there to spread the load between all of us, and the kids they're improving at a very good rate, and it's surprising because some of the kids that you see at first and you don't expect much, but the progress that they make just keep coming, chipping away day by day. Again, it's that same warm fuzzy feeling. It makes you proud.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I can see because your face sort of lights up when you talk about this, and it's a wonderful passion. You know, the passion really comes over, and I mean that in the best way. So before we get to the boxing, last sort of general question about this. Obviously, when I put this out there, obviously this is going to go all over the UK and all different places, Europe as well, and things like that. So we're in a great position to put out a little bit of advice for the youth who listen to this. Now, I know obviously there's going to be too much for you to share, and if people want to know more, they should come and see you or speak to you on social media or get involved. But just if there were a couple of ingredients that you wanted to give to young people to sort of succeed and do well in life or lead a sort of happy, fulfilled, good life, that type of thing, um, maybe 2 or 3 key things, what would they be? I know this is a big question, but it's just that we're in a great position to make just a little bit of impact on people through this talk. So I
Okay.
just wanted to get your thoughts on like a few things you think would be.
For a young person coming up, someone that's in their head, they know they want to do well, but they don't know what it is that they want to do. Or okay, I'd say always try and be the hardest worker in the room, no matter what room it is, no matter what it's for, what you're doing, whether you're doing football or you're doing college stuff or school stuff, maths or English. Always try to be the hardest worker. It's short and simple. I tell the kids that the ones that are in the gym and they want to do well, I say, look around. Are you the hardest worker? If you're not, work harder. And I think that again, that can go for any walk of life, can't it? Whether that's me or you. Again, I try to be the hardest worker, whatever I'm doing. At the time, I try to work my hardest. And again, that's sport-wise and any other walk of life.
Yeah. It's good advice, man. It's really good advice. I know you say it's short and sweet, but at the same time, it's tried and tested. With so many great people, and obviously everything you've achieved as well, it's tried and tested. So, good advice, good solid advice. So going back to the boxing now, like I mentioned at the beginning, with what we're doing with this, we're sort of working backwards and everything. So we'll continue in that format. The circumstances around your retirement and obviously making the difficult decision to hang up the gloves and everything of this nature. Talk to us a little bit about that time and the reason I ask this is because you've transitioned obviously very, very well into post boxing. I mean, people struggle with that. A lot of people struggle with that, as you would have seen. But you haven't. But around that time, making a decision. Now, I'm aware that there was like a thing with your wrist, wasn't there, where the cartilage was, well, pretty much gone as far as I know.
I had
But
a compound fracture of my wrist.
yeah,
We were in Ventura training camp. So me at the time it was me, Kel, I think Kid Gallagher was on the camp and Adam Mitchell was on the camp, but on the bike ride, we used to do 100-mile bike rides, 80-mile bike rides. So this was a big one up in the mountains and stuff. So it was at the time it was me and Kel. We went up a little bit further, went a little bit off route to go get like a nice fancy scenic picture and come back around the bend. I had not done that route before. So it was coming down quite quick and I didn't realize how sharp the bend was. So I jerked it around, turned right, lost balance, fell off, put my hand down, and not knowing again the barriers, I end up sliding, end up under the barrier. Any further, I'd have been over the cliff, would have been dead. Forget anything, I would have been dead. Forget a bad hand. I literally would have been dead. So lucky for that, thank God every day. Put my hand down, and I remember just thinking, I'm falling. I'm just gonna get back up. I'll be all right. I got up to jump back on the bike. Couldn't feel my hand. I looked down and my bone was hanging out here. My hand was up there, my bone was there. I could see my own bone, cartilage, everything. So because it was like tight around the skin, the blood wasn't pouring, gushing, just dripping. And first thing I remember thinking, obviously I couldn't feel my hand. I looked down, I see my hand, I thought, Mum and Dad are gonna kill me. That was my first thing. I was about 20, 21 at the time. I was 21. Mum and Dad are gonna kill me. And the second thoughts were, oh, I'm gonna lose my hand. So fair, that were my first thoughts. Second thoughts were going to lose my hand. I've got this picture here. I don't know if you can see it.
yeah,
That's when I
yeah.
went back to the UK.
That
And
is nice.
a bit of the scar, that's when they just patched it up. So I remember when I got back to the UK, I had 2 operations in Ventura, Spain. And then I had 2 more. I had a big one, 6-7 hour surgery in the UK. I had to put a nerve block on my own left side. But they opened it up and they said there was still debris in the hand from Ventura. They just patched it up literally, like they didn't do a great job. One of my, I think it was my ulnar bone, they drilled in and out of it that many times. The surgeon, Dr. Kasheta, is a good man. He said it looked like British Swiss cheese. That's how many times they went in and out trying to get the pins in the right place. He said that made the injury worse than what it could have, should have been. But the drilling that they did there, but it is what it is. So I came back to the UK a week later. I saw Dr. Kasheta. He said, he looked at the big operation. He goes, okay, realistically, mate, probably give you a 10% chance that you'll ever be able to punch again with that hand. And like I said, at the time, I think I was 21 or 22. Let me just double check what year that was. 2016. So 22. Yeah, I was 22 years old. I thought, all right, fair enough. Whatever, you're saying that, no problem. But in my head, there was never a doubt. It was never in doubt that I was going to come back. I always, no, I'll be back. 1 year later, I was back in the ring. I fought on ITV show. That was a madness in itself. Yeah, a year later, I was back in the ring. Got over that injury. To me, it was never 100% ever. It was never 100%. It was probably at best 60%. The pain I was putting up with. By the end of the week, it was very bad. Looking back, at the time, I was so driven and focused. I would have run through walls. It wasn't a problem. I came back and I ended up I got stopped in the first round in my first combat fight after coming back from an injury that I thought I'm never going to come back from. The circumstances around that, the people that were there know what things happen, whatever. I got beat, is what it is. I got back up again, shrugged myself off, dusted myself. I was back in the ring 3-4 months later. Again, I boxed on the Kell Brook against Errol Spence undercard at Bramall Lane. So that wasn't a bad combat fight, was it? Again, after a defeat. But came back, had a win there, had a couple more decent wins, and then I got the big fight against Leopold, which probably was my best performance to date. So I boxed him literally 2 years after the injury. again, after being told I'd never box again. I boxed Lee Appleyard. I was underdog, 3-4, 4-1, 3-1, I think I was. At the time, he was the English champion, the reigning English champion. Because of boxing and politics and everything, the title couldn't be on the line. Eddie Haynes said, look, I'll try and get an international belt on the line. Would it be nice? Because looking back now, at the time I won't bother. I thought, I'll knock him out, I'll move on, it is what it is. I'll fight for bigger titles in time to come. But looking back, it would have been nice to pick up a title because then I would have had something to retire with, because right now I can say I did this, I did that, whatever, but just something to show would be nice, something just to collect a bit of dust. But it's just something, isn't it? But it is what it is, wasn't meant to be. I knocked him out in 4 or 5 rounds. That was probably one of my easiest fights. But the training for that was unbelievable. Again, training alongside the likes of Kell Brook, Billy Joe Saunders, Liam Williams, Jason Quigley. We had Terry Flanagan join us for that camp as well. Unbelievable training camp for that fight it was. And so that comeback there, beat Lee Appleyard. Great win. That put me in good stead. I was 23, 24 at the time, 24. And yeah, I expected a lot. I expected big opportunities to come, but then I think I kind of fell in that who needs him club because I didn't have a big promoter behind me. I boxed on a few of the Eddie shows, but they were just fight by fight deals. I'll put you on this show, this is the deal, whatever. But yeah, so I fell in that who needs him club. I was top 10 in the UK. At my highest, I think I was number 8 in the UK. But again, it was that no big promoter, no real money, tricky style. He's an awkward boxer. There weren't really no need. I was training got the opportunity to fight Andy Townend, who was a big puncher at the time, dangerous fighter, won the British title. He was former British champion. Took that fight. I fought Appleyard in March. That fight came around November time. I ended up getting I had a chunk of bone the size of my thumbnail that I used to have a problem with my right elbow. I used to get jarred all the time. It used to hurt for a day or two, then it'd be all right. The week before that fight, the chunk of bone that got lodged in, and my elbow was just locked. So I had to have an operation for that literally the week before the fight. So I had to pull out of that fight due to a legit injury. And then come back from there, and the Ingle gym was extremely busy at the time. Again, fast forward to now, my relationship with Dominic and John Ingle is absolutely phenomenal. I love them. I've got love for that place. The place was home for 10 years. So I've got an affinity to that and always will have. So I left cordially because it was too busy. And I think Dominic understood where I was at and where the fighters that were there. They had 8 world level fighters at the gym. It was good for me. I spent time with them, got to see all sorts, but I wanted to push on myself because that gym was that busy at the time. I felt I just wasn't getting lucky. But again, that's not down to their fault. It was just a pecking order, isn't it? That's life. So I trained with Haroon Headley in Manchester. I travelled Manchester 3-4 times a week, travelled there and back. I was managed by Dave Cudle at the time. Got a couple of fights here, there. And then that last year, like I said, the wrist was never 100%, but it started hurting a bit. It started deteriorating more. It was a bit painful. Every year I'd have a checkup and the doctors would say it's getting a bit worse again. It got better for the first year and then it just kept deteriorating again. And then 2019 was my last year of boxing. I was with Dave Cordell at the time, man. He was all right. Got me, said one thing, did other things, but it is what it is. And I got the opportunity to fight James Tennyson. So I thought, well, we offered the Cordina fight on the big show, but then I thought, realistically, Cordina, obviously Welsh, being one of your countrymen, good fighter, very, very good fighter, but I didn't think he'd knock me out. I want to go to fights to win. So I thought it'd be a good boxing match. Me and Cordina got skills. I thought it'd be a 12-round, it was for the title, British title, but it'd be a 12-round boxing match. And Nipper told you probably, my trainer at the time probably won't get the decision. We want to take fights to win. He said, look, let's give this one a miss for now because it'll probably be a good boxing match, but you'll probably lose on points just because he's the home guy, the main guy. But then we got offered the Tennyson fight. Again, I'm a fighter. I've never said no to a fight. Even the Cordino, I said I'll take it, but my trainer said no. Let's leave this for the time. There'll be other opportunities coming. Tennyson came. I said I'll beat him. I'll box his head off, no problem. Obviously, I know he can punch. He's a good fighter, well-level fighter. But if I box to my best, I'll beat him, which I still believe I could have. Took that fight August 2019. I was boxing well, round and a half. Got chin that experience. He was looking back, hindsight. I know if I was at Ingles and got offered that fight, they would have said no because they know the game a bit more than me. I'm a fighter. I'm always going to say yeah. Trainer at the time said yeah, but really looking back, I didn't have enough experience to beat somebody of the caliber of James Tennyson to be able to stay disciplined for 10 rounds. For a round and a half, I had the skills. That's great, round and a half. But the fight was 10 rounds. So you've got to be perfect for 10 rounds. And I wasn't. I didn't have the discipline to do that at that time. I had the skill set, which I showed, but the discipline to do it for 10 rounds, I didn't have at the time. And that's obviously why I got chinned. So I got to be there. Few managerial stuff, bit of problems there. And then I had an appointment with my surgeon November. November. He goes, look, your wrist, your cartilage is basically almost nothing now. And in my head, I knew the pain I was dealing with for a while. He goes, I'd suggest you're gonna have to pack up, otherwise we're gonna have to fuse the whole hand. Right now, I've got a little bit of movement in the wrist, but not loads. But he goes, we'll have to completely fuse the whole wrist, and then you'll like everyday stuff you're gonna struggle a lot more with. And then considering everything that I'd been through that year, the pain I was dealing with, the ups and downs, a little bit of politics with boxing, I just kind of fell out of love with it as well. But that was the main reason, the pain that I was dealing with. I thought, you know what, this is going to probably have to be. I was 25 years old, did all right for a guy who turned pro at 18 with no promotional backing or nothing from ticket deals. To starting off at my first fight was at a Richard Boxing dinner show at the matches at Double T Hotel Hilton. And my last fight ended up on a Lomachenko in the card. I remember at the weigh-in before that fight, I was sat next to Bob Arum, sat chilling with Bob Arum, waiting to be weighed in. So it wasn't a bad way to end, even though I got chinned and put on my ass. It is what it is. I can live and learn and tell the story and make sure the kids I'm training now don't make the same mistakes I made, even with the boxing, the discipline had to be perfect. I wasn't perfect, obviously, that's far from it. No one is, but you can strive to be perfect, but you can't expect perfection. Again, that's something that I do tell them. We strive to be perfect, but you can never expect it because there's no such thing as perfect. And that's one thing with the coaching that I try and instill in the fighters that I am coaching. But yeah, so November 2019, I was told I had to retire. I'm going back and forth myself, aren't I? November 2019, I told I had to retire. I had a bad month, I'll be honest. I had a very bad month. Like from being 10 years old, combat, so I started kickboxing. I loved it. 13 started boxing. From like 15, 16, boxing was everything, my everything. My school friends, I don't really, I see them high and by, but I would just focus on boxing. I lost all my school friends because I was never going out or doing these. I was just in the gym. It was everything. So for 10 years of my life, it was my everything. They've been told, look, you're gonna have to pack up. I had big dreams and hopes. I still believe I had at least a British Commonwealth title in me, 100%. Probably not world, because I know mentally I know what it takes, and I didn't have that. But the skills, I had skills. I know I had skills. I know what I was capable of. But I definitely had a British and Commonwealth title in me. Unfortunately, I didn't win that. No problem. I'm not bitter about it at all. I'm grateful for where I'm at now. But I had a bad month, and I struggled for a bit. I did, like you said there. You were saying earlier where I'm grateful now, but there was a month where I was struggling, like most would. But luckily, it was only a month. My friend Cash Ali at the time, he said, "Look, just like we're Muslim, I'm Muslim, but I wasn't really practicing. I am now, thank God. Since November, I started praying, and everything I just saw the light. Like everything became so clear, and life, I thank God, every day became a lot easier. Just the way things have snowballed and spiraled to where I'm at today. It's again, I'm grateful. I thank God every single day. I've gone forward and back there, haven't I? I don't know what
No,
your
it's
question
good,
was.
it's
I
good,
was
man.
just
Because
bobbing.
yeah, it doesn't have to be in like linear time though. At the end of the day, because I mean, it's all about like your growth as a person. I mean, there's a lot in there. I mean, there's the highs, there's the lows, there's a lot of like behind the scenes stuff that other fighters watching this will know about, but like the fans, they don't see that side of it. So obviously, it's interesting for them. There's like a really nice mix of stuff. So I mean, it doesn't have to be in like straight line with this happened and this happened. I mean, it's your journey and it's amazing. I mean, everything. There's so much in there, even like the faith and that side of things. I mean, so many things you mentioned. It's beautiful description. Obviously, I mean, you've been quite sort of brutally honest about your career in a way. I mean, there's no sugarcoating there. And you've said about some things that you wish could have been a little different, but you've still ended up in a happy place. But when you look back on it now as your career, what are your proudest moments? I mean, if we flip that on its head, where you said, you know, I would have liked to have had a belt and this and that. You touched on a few about being on some of the big shows, being next to Bob Arum, being, you know, next to these, and we went past those quite quick. So I want to sort of hone in on that of like your favorite memories or your proudest moments from your boxing? I know this is a big question now, so sorry.
We'll
But
go start turning pro. Again, I had no expectations at all. I was 18. I was only young. Really, look, like I wish I could go back to myself and tell myself some things at 18, like unbelievable. Everyone does that, don't they? But I know, like I said, I know when the people I'm training, the kids, the girls, the boys that I'm training now, when they do get to that point, if some of them, if they don't, no problem. But if they do, I know what to tell them, what I wasn't told really. There's a lot you just left to just learn on the job. But turning pro, it was good fun. I had my first year though, for a kid who had no promoter. My first year, I had 8 professional fights. It's not bad. I had 2 fights in 1 week. I don't know, like again, not many promoted fighters get that opportunity. But so with me, I lived in the gym. Like people say they live in the gym, but I'd fight on a Friday or Saturday, I'd be back in the gym Monday regardless. I never was that not the case. People say it, but not many actually do it. So I did that. Kid Galahad did that. Like I've seen it for years and years. Not very many others. So I remember I boxed, I think my 6th or 7th fight, I boxed at Pons Forge. Yeah, my 5th or 6th fight, my first year. And it was all right performance. Andres Podosov, he was tough kid, had 50 record, but he always came to fight. And again, that's a fight where I wasn't really told this kid's gonna come to fight. He's gonna come and put it on. It was just like, oh, I expected it like a steady move around. I was 19 years old, expected to move around. It weren't. The guy came and put it on me. So like I had to just scrap it out. I won the fight by a point or two, I think. Competitive fight, very competitive. Shit performance though. I can say sorry, Marvin. Can I say that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Performance. It wasn't a great performance. Or like whatever. Still back to the gym Monday. Went back to the gym Monday. John said to me, "Do you want to box again on Saturday?" I went, "What are you about?" Went to the show. It is the Maxi Muscle tournament. Remember the Maxi Muscle? Bob Edgesaf was in it. He goes, Mick's got a show in Leeds Town Hall on Saturday. Do you want to box? I went, "Yeah." "Do I sell tickets?" He goes, "No, but I've got family in Leeds anyway." So I sold about 30, 40 tickets at a week's notice after boxing the week before anyway. You don't have to, you're getting paid some extra amount regardless. No problem. So I was like, oh, fantastic, 100%. I love to box again. Because I thought there's a saying in boxing, you're only as good as your last fight. And that summer, because it was summer coming, it was like May, June. So there's a summer break in there. Like, oh, my last fight was shit. Like, but crap. So like, yeah, buzzing 100%. I'm going to change that over. I can enjoy some of that, not worry about my last performance, which was crap. I boxed again the week later. I boxed there. Dougie Curran was not a bad kid, tough kid. I ended up cutting him and stopping him in the second round. That was it. So then that ended up being a better summer. As good as the last fight, I got a stoppage against a decent sort of opponent. So that was good. Like that, my first year of boxing, I think that was my 7th fight. Then I had another one before the end of the year, and that made 8 fights in my first year. Second year, 6 fights, just active, same sort of thing. I remember my first year, I remember that. I take it back. That Maxi Muscle show, that fight, the second one in the week, I had Tyson Fury sat ringside watching me. Because Tyson, when I was 15 at Ingles, he spent a summer training at the Ingles gym. And I was like a young kid at the gym, but I was obsessed with boxing. So I'd always stay late and watch the pros training. I remember Tyson coming for a whole summer almost every day, 4 times a week. And I'd always sit back and just watch. I was only young, but I always sat and watched him training, watch him training. Don't know if he remembers that. But then obviously he watched me. He stayed. He knew I was a kid from the Ingle gym, so he got there early. There weren't very many people in the crowd at the time when I boxed, but Tyson Fury was in the crowd, who at the time I think he was British Commonwealth European champion, or British and Commonwealth at least. And so he sat and watched it early. And remember, he gave me a shout out on Twitter. Shout out to Unique Shafiq. He's going to be the next champion from the Ingle gym conveyor belt, which I've got a screenshot on my phone still. So I was buzzing about that. And like even when I see him now, he recognizes me and he says, "Oh, how you doing?" Da, da, da. So it's great. But yeah, so that was a highlight. Having one of the greatest heavyweights of all time now, really, who sat ringside watching one of my fights, and he got there early specifically to watch me as well, which was nice. That was that first year. Second year kept busy, and then I think one of my early highlights, one of the best things I've done at 20 when Kel fought. So we used to go training camps. There was always nice. Fought Ventura 3-4 times a year. Fantastic, lovely getaway. Just training, focusing on boxing. We had a great little gym out there. All the boys from the gym. They were good times. Very some great times actually. Some of the best times. Like over a 4-year period, we used to go like 4 or 5 times a year. Some great times. They are great memories. I've got some great memories from all the lads. But when I was 20, Kel Brook against Sean Porter, America. Dom said, "We're gonna go 3 weeks. We're gonna go out for 3 weeks. We're gonna go train in Vegas for 2 weeks and then fly to LA the 3rd week. Do you want to come?" Of course I want to come. No, what do you mean? Do I want to come? Thank you very much. So like me, Jordan Gill, Lee Wood, Kid Galahad, and Kel at the time. So it's not a bad mix. If you look at them 4, Kel obviously world champion, Kid Galahad world champion, British Commonwealth European, Lee Wood now world champion, British champion, Jordan British and European champion, Commonwealth champion, and then there was little old me. So that's the company that I was in day out for years. So when we talk about experience, I hadn't done it myself, but I was always the type of person that always watched and observed. So I know exactly what it takes. I know I didn't have it, but I know the fighters that had it, and I know what it takes and what it took for them to get it. So that's something that again I use now. But that was one of my early highlights where I was in Vegas at the Mayweather gym, saw Floyd Mayweather train, spent time with Nate Jones, the big guy who spent a lot of time with Mayweather. I spent some time because I was a fan of boxing. Like I was obsessed with boxing from being 14 to like 20. I've watched everything. When I got to 2021, 22, I weren't as obsessed with watching it as more because I watched like after school, I'd be watching boxing. That's all I ever did. So obviously I knew who Nate Jones was. That's Floyd Mayweather was like one of his best friends. They won the Olympic team together and all of that. And so I let him know that I know who he was. Obviously he's just a big fat guy that around Mayweather people don't really know. So he appreciated that I knew who he was. And then he spent a bit of time with me, offered to train me one morning, and he told me some stories about Floyd, told me some mad stories. It's unbelievable. So that was a great memory. Again, 2 weeks in Vegas. I spotted Nate Jones out there as well. Big Nate Jones. Like it was like middleweight at the time. I was only a really super featherweight lightweight, little 20-year-old lightweight. But I got some rounds in with him. And then we went to LA. Kel beat Sean Porter. What an experience that was. So that topped that trip off. That was amazing. And then myself, obviously, the Ginger Rocket fight. So Kel was meant to be top of the bill. Diego Chavez, that was a tough fight for Kel anyway. But he ended up getting a broken rib. So he had to pull out, and then it ended up making Chris Eubank Jr. That was his first fight with Sky at the time, I think. Derek Jeter, that was it. He ended up topping the bill, but there was no interest in that at all. At the time, me and Jamie Robinson, there was a bit of a back and forth. It kind of sold the show on Twitter and stuff. There was loads of banning all the way through. So that was actually what day again? I posted it 2 days ago. That was 6 years ago, 2 days ago. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that actually. I think I saw. Yeah.
2 days ago. So Kel ended up having to pull out. Chris Eubank was the main event, but there was no interest in Chris Eubank. Locally, we kind of sold the show. So we were the live float. So we were going to be on TV, but we didn't know when. So we had to stay ready, get warm, not get warm, get warm. We ended up going on after Chris Eubank. Obviously, normally after the main event, everyone scatters. They made an announcement, obviously, don't forget the next fight, Tisha against Jamie Robinson, 8-round fight. Be sure to stick around. There was still, I don't think anyone really left. There was still about 4,000 people there when me and Jamie boxed and live on Sky Sports. And obviously the fight, whoever saw it, it's not on YouTube no more, but it was a great fight. Obviously, first round, I hit with a jab, slip, left uppercut, screw shot, put him on his ass. Like first 30 seconds. That's actually the first time I put someone on their ass. I'm sure it was as a pro, and that was probably meant to be my hardest fight to date. So that was good. He got back up. I boxed his head for 5 rounds, 6 rounds, not bad. 7th round, right at the middle part of the 7th round, he caught me with a big right hand, which should have really knocked me out. He didn't. He buzzed me a little bit. He had a good minute. The last minute of that round, I hit with a body shot. And I heard him wince and he was gone. And he talks about if it was a 10-round fight, he'd do this, that. But Jamie's a nice guy, but he was gone with that body shot. And then I got back on top in the 8th round. But it was a very, very good fight. This one, not many people know this. After that fight, I had a special spectator. Me being a young Pakistani kid from Sheffield, training at the Ingle gym. Prince Nassim Hamid watched that fight. So Naz watched that fight and he obviously knows people that I know. He rang a couple of people and said, "Who's this Pakistani kid from Sheffield? I just seen him box. He's fucking good, him. I want to meet him." So obviously I got a call saying, "Yo, Naz wants to meet you." He watched him. I was like, "What? Naz wants to meet me?" He goes, "Yeah, yeah." And that's why I ended up having a sit-down meal. I was having some dinner with Naz, watching him against watching him against Kevin Kelly. We like the anniversary of that fight as well. So I got to watch that fight with Naz and got to meet Naz. But he wanted to meet me. That's the mad thing. Obviously, I wanted to meet him, but he rang to say, "I want to meet this kid. He's a legend." And he said, I think that was the when I fought Ginger Rocket, it wasn't long after Mayweather fought Pacquiao. And he said, "That fight was more entertaining. That fight, your fight was so entertaining. Well done, whatever, whatever." So that was an amazing experience as well, getting to meet the legend, Prince Nassim Ahmed. I met him a couple of times since as well. So that was one of my highlights, obviously, Jamie Robinson. Then the injury, it's an experience, but the injury was the next big thing that happened. That was experience. And then coming back, the Lee Appleyard one. That overall, I think that was me. At that time, that was the best. That was 100%. That was the best I ever looked in the ring, 100%. But on that night, I'd beat anyone at British and Commonwealth level. 100, I know that without a shadow of doubt. The skills that I showed in that fight against someone like Lee, who's a seasoned domestic level fighter. No one to this day, no one's done what I done to him. To this day, really. The way I broke him down, and like I said, I broke two of his ribs. I broke two of his ribs in that fight. So that was the last highlight of my career. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, it's one of those things where I knew it was a big question when I asked the question. So obviously, but there's some amazing answers in there. I mean, just incredible moments that it sounds like you'll cherish forever, and rightly so. And also, obviously, it shows people where hard work and dedication can take you. As soon as we were talking about Mayweather, hard work and dedication. I mean, it
Yeah,
shows where that
that,
can do, and it's
that's 100% because I want to add something. When I turned pro, I wasn't somebody that was destined to do anything. But I was always, like I said, with the advice I give to young kids, always try to be the hardest worker. That's something that I've done myself, and I still do. I still do to this day, and that's why I was able to see the things that I got to see. That simple as that. Like always try and be the hardest worker, and that was my advice to myself as well. And again, that's why I got to the places that I got to, not because of ability or talent, because there are so many kids that were better than me that I've got to see hardly anything compared to what I've been to see, or the level I even boxed at as an amateur. There were so many great kids, national titles. I never won a national title, but I got to do things that I achieved more than kids that have won national titles. That was only down to hard work. As simple as that.
yeah. It's a powerful message, and it's something that I'm really glad that we've got into that, because that was really sort of my aim for doing this in the first place, because people can apply that to any aspect of life. It's not just obviously it's not just boxing, as you said at the beginning. You can apply that to absolutely anything. Moving towards the sort of tail end of this, because I don't want it to be too long for people's attention spans, and so people can sort of take it all in and everything like that. As we move towards the end of this, what would you say now to your fans and your supporters? Because it might sound like a strange question, but I like to give a shout out to this, because without the fans and the supporters, obviously the sport would be nothing. But it's not just like when you were boxing, but like people who support the work that you're doing now, and people who
Yeah.
contribute to it in any way. I want to give a shout out to those people, because some people watching this, they will have found out a lot more about you, and it's like a different sort of exposure. Some people will know a lot, and they'll be people who supported you anyway. So I want to give a shout out to those people of the people who sort of stuck by you during your career. Obviously, we mentioned Kel, we mentioned some of the people from the gym, but in terms of like family, friends, even fans who bought tickets or tuned in to watch you fight, what would you say to those people who contributed to your career and gave it a boost, if you get where I'm coming from with this one?
What can you say apart from just a massive thank you? Because like I said, without the support of friends and family, and obviously fans, that people that become fans would then also become friends. It's without them it won't be possible, because like I said, I didn't turn pro with any promotional backing. Most of my fights were ticket deals. So without the friends and family, rather than, like I said, fans are when you're at world level, and everybody else is the supporters, the friends and family that support you to get to that level. So it's like, without them, I wouldn't be able to box. So just a massive thank you. And obviously, even people now that are supporting, people like yourself, because what I do, not many people know of, but I know there's a need for it. And I appreciate you, Lee, for having me on to be able to spread the message and just let people know what I am doing, because it looks like it's all fun and games, obviously in the gym. And I don't speak about my work, which is the box of the company, often, because I've never really given the platform to what I do. But that I feel that's, again, every morning I wake up, it's quote unquote work, but it's not, because I do it for free to be able to help someone and have that impact and bring positivity to them. I genuinely would do it for free. The gym, I do that for free. I basically am anyway. And now everything. So this again, I'm grateful for you to give me the platform to let people know what I am doing. But and I'm also grateful to God for giving me the work that I'm doing and the impact that I can have. Like I said, what they say? They say make your work make your hobby your work, and you'll never work a day in your life. And I'm grateful because I don't feel like I've not worked really. Very rarely have I worked, because I was a professional boxer. I signed up to the agency to do the TA and stuff. Even that I enjoyed. But then now I'm my own boss, and I'm so grateful. But that all came through the boxing, the time spent there, and from the fans, from my supporters, gave me the opportunity to buy the tickets. Because otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to do it. So the tickets they bought, every one of them. So every fight I've had, I've got written down every single person that came to every one of my fights. It's in my notes. So I know anyone that came to my first fight, all the way through to my 24th fight, I've got them written down. So I know everyone that did come and support.
Oh, that's amazing. There we are. Never. Well, champ, it's a powerful message once again with the gratitude and everything and the hard work. But you're very, very welcome. I mean, thank you for the kind words, by the way, that you said just then, because I hope it helps. I mean, I hope it helps, raise a little bit more awareness of what you're doing, because it's amazing. I mean, the world needs more people like you, doing that type of work. I mean, everyone wants to be rich and famous and this and that and the other, but at the end of the day, giving back is the most rewarding thing you can do. So, and thank you for coming on here and being such an open book and sharing, regarding to some quite deep stuff.
Like
So
I said, it's not even what I do. I don't, we don't really, I think for people, because I'm not the only one, there's a lot of people like me that do this kind of stuff I'm doing, but we don't do it, so people see it. But it's nice, obviously, getting a bit of recognition, but it's not for that. I think it's obviously yourself as well. You do the same sort of way. It's for that intrinsic value, knowing that you're having that that impact and that positivity. There's more just it's like a self-satisfying thing rather than trying to get the pat on the back from other people, because I don't give a shit about if no one knows. I've been doing what I've been doing. But if you gave me the platform to come and speak on it, so that's why I appreciate it. But it's not like I wanted to come out and let everyone know how great I'm doing. Oh, look at me doing it. No, it's nice to have the platform to discuss it and to let
yeah.
people know. But regardless of that, I still would be doing it. I still love what I'm doing regardless. So it's nice.
It is. I mean, I 100%, man. I know. I mean, you're as humble as they come, and you're just doing it because it's the right thing to do at the end of the day, and there's no two ways about it. So I totally hear you on that. Thank you again for your time, champ. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to the Simply Inspired YouTube channel, and there'll be more videos coming soon.